Hi guys, in this video we'll discuss about how can we call a script include from a client script. So we'll take into account one of the most common use cases where we have a user field on the form, which is a reference field actually, and we need to populate other details like contact number, user ID, or maybe department name as well on the form itself once the user details are populated. So I have just created this one sample form where I have one reference field called user and two other details, the two other fields called contact number and user ID. So let me just select one user over here and see. It should not populate the details as of now. So I just selected open cards and none of the details are populated as of now since that script include is not in place. So I'll just go ahead and create one client script. We'll give the name as populate user details. And since details should be populated every time a user record value is changed, in that case, I mean user field value is changed. So I'll give the type as onchange, and here I'll write the code for my script include. I'm calling using GlideAjax. Or let me just give any variable name like user details. I'm going to create a script include with this particular name. Then this first parameter wherein I will pass the name of the function which I'm gonna call, and this function name will contain the logic which will send the details from my script include to my client script. Then in this particular parameter I'll pass the name of the user selected on that record. For this I can simply get the value using this, and I'll pass this value over here. So once I receive a response from the server side script, I'll pass the response over here, and then I can set the values in the corresponding fields. So we'll continue on this particular code once I am done with my server side code. So I'll just move on to create a script include now. So I'll just click on new. I will give the same name for my script include. And since I'm planning to call it from my client script, it should be client callable. Okay. And the next step is I'll just create a function with this same name. I'll declare one user object wherein I will be passing the details, and I will be returning this particular object from my function to my client script. Now I'll glide through the user table from where I need to fetch the other details. So the details which I've passed in this particular parameter, sysparam underscore user select, can be obtained in my script include using this .get parameter function. Wherein I will pass the name of the parameter. Then I'll set those details which I have to return from here in my user object which I have declared on top. Let's say this one is contact number. So the actual name of the field in the database is, let's check for the actual name for the field which I'm trying to fetch. Let us assume the field name is mobile phone. So it should be mobile underscore phone. The next details which I want to set is user ID. So it should be get value of user ID. The name of the field is user underscore name. For my example case, I have used these two fields, but we can, if required in the future for any requirement, we can fetch more details and add it over here, set the object, and we just need to now return the values which we have set in the object. So to return those values, what I'll do is I'll simply return those objects by using json.stringify. Since we cannot directly return an object from the script include to the client script, because we won't be able to pass in that case. So I think my script include is ready, and I'll just save this script include. And I will jump onto my client script once again. So the object once returned from there, we need to pass it and pass it over here, whatever the response is coming, and accordingly we need to set the form field with those values which are part of the user object coming from script include. Now I'll pass the same using json.pass. And I've stored it in my user object of client script. And I'll set those things in my current form field. So the practice form which I have created contains the field name for contact numbers, this, and the value comes from the user object, which I have stored in this particular variable. Now I'll set the user ID, and the user ID field is user underscore ID itself. And in script include, the name is user ID. So looks good. Now I'll just go ahead and save my client script. So now once I create a record and I select any user value, what should happen is I'm passing some user details in the function called getUserDetails. I'm calling the script include. Then once the script include is executed, it will glide to the user table. Then it is fetching the value for this particular user which I am passing from my client script. Then it is creating an object with these details, and in the end it is returning that particular user object. And once I get that particular user object in my client side code, I am just passing it and setting the form field values. So let's see if it works, else we will have to debug. So let me just open the form. I'll click on new, and I'll select any user having both the user ID and the phone number. This is one such example. So it did not work. What could be the possible reason that it did not work? Now let us just analyze why it is not working, because this code is fine. We are gliding user table, then I'm setting the values in this object. So this looks good. Even client callable is checked. So the script should have been called. Now going back to our client script code, I pass the name correctly. I am passing this value as well. So the type is onchange, but the field name is contact number. So when do we need to call this? On change of the user field. So let me just update the field and then we'll test it again. I'll open my module once again. I'll click on new. I'll select the user, view bin cards, and successfully contact number details and the user ID details of that person whose name is selected in the user fields are populated over here. So this is one way in which we can populate the details using GlideAjax from the database. Couple of other ways include using the GlideRecord query in the client script or using getReference in the client script, but those are not recommended.